Greetings, fellow Kubernetes enthusiasts. My name is Dejan Pejčev, and I am an open source software engineer based in Belgrade, Serbia. I'm part of the G Research open source team and a maintainer of Armada, the multi-cluster Kubernetes batch scheduler. For today, I have prepared a demo on installing and interacting with Armada, and I will cover topics like the Armada operator, concept of queues, jobs, joining multiple Kubernetes clusters, and many more. Hope you enjoy it and find it useful. Stay tuned. So on to the next boring step. Here we need to install the Armada operator. Armada operator is our latest and greatest way of installing Armada, and I honestly think it's by far the simplest way because we just define Armada components using CRDs, we apply them, and let the operator do its magic. So how do we do that? First, we add the public G-Research Helm registry by running the helm repo add command. Okay, I already have it locally. And after that, we just helm install the Armada operator. This should go fast, like I said. And voila, let's assume this works and move on. So now that we have the Armada operator installed, let's create some Armada components using CRDs. We define them, so we need a couple of them. We need the Armada server, provide some config for it. We need Armada executor, we need lookout, seems like we need many more. Don't let that scare you, it's not that frightening. Okay, maybe a little bit, but the config is super intuitive, and like I said, I'll share all of the examples so you can easily set it up when you try it. It's also really similar to our Helm chart, so whomever is familiar with the Helm chart will also be familiar with the CRD structure. Let's install this into a namespace called Armada. We create the namespace, we apply the custom resources, and hopefully this sets up Armada. On to the next step. Really close to the cool stuff. You just need to bear with me for one more minute. We also need Armada Kotel, which is the Armada command line tool, which is used to interact with the Armada API. So let's quickly install it. Also, you can find a list of supported platforms and architectures in the Armada releases page in our Armada GitHub repo. So let's copy this blob of code and trust that it does what's intended. Okay, moment of truth. Okay, seems like Armada Kotel is working. What I'll also do is I'll set my URLs where to point to my Armada server. So Armada Kotel has a .armadakotel.yaml where you can set the Armada gRPC and the Armada REST URL. It is pointing to the correct. Okay, let me see, can I close Vim quickly? Cool, everything's perfect. Let's now start interacting with Armada. On to the more exciting stuff, we can finally start interacting with our Armada cluster. First, we need to create an Armada queue. Armada queues are an interesting concept in Armada. Queue is basically a mechanism to control access to the Armada cluster and ensure fair share. Queues can also be used to model your organization structure or hierarchy. You could define a queue per team or a queue per Armada user, and every job which gets submitted to Armada must be submitted into a queue. Each queue can define static resource limits, or it can define a priority, which is then in Armada translated and calculated towards fair share usage of the Armada cluster. Let's now create one Armada queue. Let's call it queue KubeCon demo. Okay, our queue got created, and now let's try submitting a job. Armada jobs are a superset of a Kubernetes pod spec with some additional Armada specific fields. Here we can see an example of one Armada job. It references a queue, that's the queue we just created. It also references a job set ID. Job sets are a logical grouping of jobs. And also, Armada exposes endpoints where you could subscribe to a given job set and listen for job events, and events are emitted as the job transitions through various stages in Kubernetes, from pending to scheduled to running and to terminal stages like completed and failed. And like I said, in the pod spec, we define what do we actually want our job to do. Let's try to submit this job. So we use Armada Kotel, we use the submit command, we submit it. Okay, submit a job with ID to job set. Let's see, is it actually running? We try to get pods. Okay, we can see our Armada job. Now we can get logs, we can interact with it in any way we like. Next, we can also see how we can inspect our jobs using the Armada Lookout UI. So all the things we did so far, we did through a terminal. Terminals are nice, and I actually really like when I can do all my work through a terminal, but we must agree that they are a bit old school. And in Armada, we try to be modern, so we have created a UI called Lookout, which can be used to observe the current state of an Armada cluster. So let's open it and see what's happening. I've exposed it just for the sake of convenience for this demo publicly. If we open this URL, v2 is the latest and greatest of our Lookout UI. Here we can see all of the jobs which got run in our Armada cluster. We can see jobs which were run in the queue we created. If we submit a couple of more jobs, we can see them in Lookout. We can see their states. We have a lot of filtering options. We can group by state. We can group by job set. We can filter only active job sets, or we can, let's say, edit which columns we want to show. We can reprioritize running jobs on the fly for a specific job. We could see detailed info, current run. We can see the definition of it. And yeah, hopefully Lookout makes everybody's life easier. For the end of this demo, I'd like to show you our coolest and most important feature of Armada. That's the multi-cluster feature. So we have the executor component, and that component is responsible for joining a Kubernetes cluster into the Armada cluster or the compute farm. And as soon as we install or apply the executor CRD and configure the URL of the Armada server, it will automatically join the Armada cluster, and Armada will be able to schedule jobs onto the newly added Kubernetes cluster. So all we need to do is we just apply this CRD. Operator will take care of correctly installing the executor. We can check pods. Okay, we see it's running. Let's check logs. What does it say? Yes, it joined my new Kubernetes cluster into the Armada cluster and is now actively waiting for jobs.